Hey everyone, welcome back to Live the Boat. Today we're on my 28-foot North River Seahawk offshore here in Alaska. This is our Alaskan charter boat. We've operated charters here in Alaska for a long time. This is my office in the summertime. So let's do a quick walkthrough and a sea trial on our 28-foot North River. We spend a lot of time on the kicker motor. This is a 15 horse EFI Mercury kicker here, Pro Kicker, fires right up, adjustable tiller handle. Sometimes it's up like so, drop it all the way down. We troll on these boats and we mooch on these boats. We do a lot of mooching with herring and stuff in the summer, so we have them set up with tillers. But spend a lot of time on the kicker motor, and this 15 EFI really gets the job done. You can see I've also got a prop guard on there. That is an absolute must for trolling and mooching so the line doesn't get wound up in the prop. Twin 225 horsepower Mercury Pro outboards. They have been just absolute money. They're extremely powerful. They're quiet. That's the thing about these motors. They're remarkably quiet, easy on fuel. We'll show you the fuel economy on this boat here in a little bit. We've saved about 10 to 15% with these motors. And then moving on over to this Yeti cooler. This was an addition that we made last summer. This is really nice. We put all of our bait in here, and we can keep bait in here for about 3 days. And we've really saved a lot on our bait in the summertime. This is an idea that El Capitan Lodge came up with up here to the north of us. We put it on our boats, and that has been a great addition. Here in the transom, I just rewired the polar bear last year. Let's open up all this. This is where all the electronics are. You got to have a couple of these in here, of course, for draining your fuel water separator. So I always keep a couple of empty water bottles in there. I keep a wire brush in here because we are in the rainforest and it flat out rains here at times. Everything's moist all the time. So you really got to keep up with the corrosion here. I like to hit the tops of all my connections with fluid film. It just puts a nice shell over top of every connection in here, and it really works good. These are the cranking batteries here. This is the house system. These are two 6-volt batteries tied together to make a 12-volt. You get a lot more amp hours out of this setup. And you can see my downriggers are set up back in here on breakers. These are 40 amp breakers right here. So we pop a downrigger, you just come up and push the breaker and you're back in business. They've got covers on them to keep the corrosion at bay. Really nice setup. ACR here, another one up above there. So all the systems are back here, and easy to get to. And since I wired the boat myself, I know where everything is. And then all your battery switches are over here. Let me turn those back to just on there. And again, breakers for everything and a charger right here. So if we do have an issue, we can plug in at the dock, get everything back up to speed. Right here on the transom, I've got a Rudnick workstation. This is where I spend a lot of time during the day. You can see all my swim baits here. You can tell what we're using for lingcod here. Lots of swim baits. Look at this one here. Just chewed all to pieces. Got an underspin on it. That one has just been murdered. I'm surprised it's still alive, actually. But all your tools are back here. Knives, pliers, everything you need. Extra leads. This is a bamboo gaff that a buddy made me in Craig. One of my favorite items on the boat here. This gets a lot of use. And you've got a nice work surface here as well. And it's aluminum. It's tough. It's kind of down low, but yet still tall enough to where I don't have to hunch over to work on bait and stuff. Bait cooler, when we're mooching, that'll be full of bait. On to the downriggers. We're running Cannon Optimum downriggers. I love these downriggers. They're really easy for the customers to use as well. If you want to go, down or up, it's all power down, power up. But with customers, these are pretty foolproof. I love the memory depth function on here. So we hook a fish, say at 75 feet, it remembers that in the system here. You just go back in there, go right back to the depth, and it will stop automatically. So I can be working on that downrigger while this one's going down and get the gear back in the water really fast. We've also got Rudnick rod holders here for halibut fishing. These are bulletproof. Throw the halibut rods in there. The guys can crank with them right in the holders if they need to. Really slick setup from Rudnick down in Seattle. We've also got Lee's gunnel rod holders. I've got a mooching rod in this one up here. So when we're mooching, a lot of times we just throw all the rods in these holders in the gunnel, and that works really well. We ice up these Yetis every day. This is a Yeti 160. Most of the fish go in here till we get to coho season, and we have so many fish that we have to go into the side boxes. But these Yeti products are just incredible. It's no secret that they hold ice forever. So, and then we've got fish holds on the sides too, right there. A lot of times we'll put halibut and lingcod in these side holds. We've got a really big fish hold up here, and so that you don't have to lift the entire lid up every time you put something in it, we put these little trap doors in here. So you need a slide of halibut in there. You don't need to lift the whole lid up to do it. Another Yeti for drinks. And then this is really cool. We started this last year. All the customers, while they're here, pick a color, right? This one's green. This is your drink bottle for the whole trip. So instead of packing the cooler full of plastic water bottles, we have a 1 gallon Yeti jug up in the boat there, up in the cabin, and we just fill these as the day goes on. At the end of the day, we refill everything with water. But this way, we've saved a ton of plastic water bottles. I mean, I used to burn through 20 to 25 cases a summer. We've totally eliminated that amount of plastic going into our landfills and eventually, of course, into the ocean. 12-inch Lowrance live units. The sonar on these are just absolutely ridiculous. You've probably seen some of my sonar shots. I live and die by this thing. I stare at this all day long. Bunch of rocket launchers up top. We run the gaff a lot on our cohos, but towards the end of the season, when we all have tennis elbow, we're all getting a little older, and by the end of the season, I don't know about the rest of the guys around here, but my elbow gets pretty sore. We'll use these little rubber nets from Fraybill to sling cohos into the boat. And then, of course, our big king net is right over here on the other side. So everything's easily accessible, slides underneath the bungee cord up top. You'll see that on the drone video. And then, of course, all the rods are all the way across. We've got jigging rods, halibut rods, mooching rods, trolling rods, and just an absolute dynamite saltwater fishing machine. Let's step into the cabin. We'll show you what's going on in here. We had these cut down a little bit, just about 3-4 inches when they were built, just for a little less windage when we're mooching out there. And even though I'm a tall guy, still works out really good here. We've just got bench seats on either side here for the guests. This side, we've got a porta potty in there, and a first aid kit, fighting belts, and this porta potty flush is right here. Again, kind of a custom setup there. Storage under here. 2 air rides up front. These are Mariner air rides, and these are absolute lifesavers here on the Polar Bear with the amount of chop that we run in, and just a really simple setup up front here. No cushions, no nothing. All the life jackets are up there, garbage can, and you see the snack box and everything over there. All pretty well organized and clean. And here's our 1 gallon jug. This is where all of our water is, so we refill our water bottles throughout the day with our Yeti, big Yeti jug there, and then another Lowrance 12-inch live here. And let's turn on the vessel view gauge. Turn those Merc keys on there. Vessel view gauge here. We've got our anchor control, trim tab controls here, fans. You know, with all this moisture here, you got to have some big fans in here. So we mounted these in here a little while ago. Try to keep the windows from getting fogged up. Of course, we run a lot of Rain-X and everything else, but big fans certainly help. Radio's up here. And then this is a new addition this year. This is a Sea-Dog voltage meter, but it also has USB and USB-C ports in it too for charging. And this, of course, is the furnace. Now the vessel view gauge is alive here and kicking. There we go. All your data is right here on this gauge. All your Merc data pops up there. And you can also read it up here on your live unit right there. If we start those engines up, which we can do right now, you can see that will come to life right there on the Lowrance unit. We've got a Rebel 5 easy anchor on the bow that holds, it's got 1,000 feet of 1/4-inch Dyneema underneath there, a 50-foot shot of shock line, and then about 35 feet of chain to a 30-pound plow anchor. With that Dyneema, we can anchor deep. That's really thin diameter, really low drag, and we can anchor, you know, we'll anchor up to 400 or 500 feet, and we could certainly anchor a lot deeper than that. The guys up in Sitka and over in Ketchikan are anchoring down to about 800 feet or so. I really have no interest in fishing that deep, but they certainly do well fishing deep. And other ports here, we just try to keep it below, 500 feet at the most. But the anchor system is key, and of course you got control of it right here. Up and down, up, power down on that Rebel 5 anchor system up there. Again, 1,000 feet of 5mm, which equates to about a 1/4 inch Dyneema. Super strong, and the drag is nice. With that really thin line, you can anchor in some pretty stiff current. You don't get as much drag on there. All right, now let's get to the fun part, the sea trial part of this whole video. Gen 2 controls here for Mercury Marine. You got your active trim built right into the side of the controls. Kind of nice, you can start both engines right here. You got a neutral indicator up here. You can trim all the engines right here, both engines, excuse me, right there. Okay, now let's get up on plane, and I'll show you the fuel economy on this. And here, North River with those 225s. We can usually cruise, depending on the water, 28 miles an hour, give or take, at about 12.5 gallons an hour. So we've got the RPMs up here. Got our speed on the Lowrance unit. And this is a vessel view link gauge. So this is tied right into the NEMA 2000 system, which allows us to read everything up here. So we're at 28.5 miles an hour. Let's click on fuel, and total fuel burn, 12 gallons an hour, 11.9. Let's ramp it up here a little bit. Let's get up to 30. Yeah, we're at 30 miles an hour, 12.5 gallons an hour. Look at that right there. So there's 12.5 gallons an hour. We're about 30 miles an hour. So that's our fuel economy, which is excellent. And even when we get a full load of customers on here, ice, fish, everything, we're cruising at 28 to 30 miles an hour. I mean, these boats just do really well with these Verado V6s. Now let's turn around here, and we'll show you the top speed on this 28 footer. One thing about these Verados, they're incredibly torquey. We got a 0 to 30 hole shot video produced out here a couple of days ago, Eric and I, and 7.2 seconds, 0 to 30 miles an hour with this 28 footer with those Verados. A lot of torque. We got about 75, 80 gallons worth of fuel on here. So let's drop the hammer here, see what the old polar bear can do. You can see we're at 6,000 RPMs, and we're screaming along. I mean, we're 49 miles an hour. I'm going to pull it back, but that's incredible. For this boat, I mean, it's probably loaded, pushing 9,000 pounds. I don't know what we are right now, but I'm guessing about close to 9,000 pounds fully loaded. So there's nothing wrong with that with a set of twin 225s. One thing about these North Rivers, they really handle well. They got a deep V, big, deep entry on them, and they really corner well. We typically don't drive the boats like this, but look how tight these things turn. Let's get up to about 28, and look at this. I mean, they just dig right in. That's that deep V digging in, 20 degrees of dead rise. And then really quick, I'll show you just the lack of bow rise. Not a surprise, but these things just pop straight up on a plane, and you can see the bow just doesn't even come up at all. So you've always got really good visibility. Forward facing windshield, which is nice. It sheds the water really well, reduces glare. We're on the ocean just about every day, and just these little tiny things like that really help. So really like the reverse windshield here. Hey, thanks for stopping by. I thought you might want to take a gander at our 28-foot North River here. Spent a lot of time on this boat. This is my stock and trade of saltwater fishing in Southeast Alaska. And this is a 2007, by the way. I mean, we take great care of these boats, keep them up, clean them every night. The Bay Company in Craig, Alaska maintains our outboards, installs our outboards. They keep us on the water no matter what. They do a fantastic job. Thanks for stopping by Live the Boat this week. We'll catch you next week.